Boys, the last question I had from sports medicine was question 31B, and this one asks you to evaluate strategies an athlete could use to support the body's temperature regulation mechanisms. So I've obviously bolded and coloured some key words here. So we're looking to evaluate, obviously to make a judgment. Temperature regulation mechanisms. So they're the key areas, and this is worth 7 marks. We look at our syllabus here, temperature regulation mechanisms, which is only this part here. That's what was required. So I was looking for convection, radiation, conduction, and evaporation. If the question had mentioned environmental considerations, then you would have been expected probably to have all of them in. But because it's mentioned a specific key point from a dot point, it's just the temperature regulation mechanisms that was required. So we look at our sample answer here. So when performing in physical activity, it is important for an individual to assist their body's temperature regulation, I'll scroll down, missing page, mechanism through the implementation of strategies. He's given his judgment. He said that it's important. It needs to happen. He then goes through and he talks about convection, conduction, evaporation, and radiation. And he gives some examples to support how they can help as well. And that's what the question was after, to reinforce about how the body can adapt to it and make aware of it. And he's covered all the areas. Again, I like the way in which he set them out. So as soon as you look at this page, radiation stands out, evaporation stands out, conduction stands out, convection stands out. So this is important that he sees, what's going on. You can clearly know, I know from a marking point of view, the 4 key points that he needs to have there, I can see them clearly, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one's down the bottom, which is specific, and he's included examples in there, or what's happening, or more importantly, as a question asked, he's included some strategies which can help with cooling effects and impact on the person's performance. That's what we needed to do with this question, and that was why this was a pretty good sample. What I needed, boys, to do in this response, only was, again, if I go back to the syllabus, just to look at these 4 areas: convection, radiation, conduction, evaporation. Wasn't worried about any of these other areas because it spoke specifically about temperature regulation. I think, boys, too many students just wrote about climatic conditions: temperature, humidity, wind, rain, altitude, and pollution. There was a real lack for me, a lack of understanding of the syllabus in this question, and overall, boys struggled with this question, covering the wrong dot point or the wrong aspects of the dot point, as I've already mentioned about climatic conditions. Guidelines for fluid intake got a fair start as well. And as the question asked you to evaluate, make a judgment, and we saw in the sample answer, this guy said that it was important that they have some strategies. That's making a judgment. That's what needed to happen, and some examples need to be given for each area. So there's a bit to do, I reckon, on these bigger mark questions, especially the 7 to the 10 to 12 markers as well. In this temperature regulation, evaluate, there's the key term there, of being specific to knowing exactly what was required in this response.